and can you see it? Can everyone see it? Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
And you can hear me. You can hear me fine as well.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
All right. Let's get started. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And does anybody have any questions from last week?
Namaste, Prabhuji. My friend Sarvari Basu has joined this time.
Welcome.
I asked him. So my friend has joined this this time.
Thank you, Mataji, and welcome. Sir,
Yeah.
you said Sarvari?
Sarvari Basu, yes.
Is it Shorbari?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so any questions from last week? Okay, if not, then Ani, what are the takeaways, what you remember from last week? Nobody remembers?
I have that the material world is described as a banyan tree.
Banyan
with its
tree,
roots
yes.
upward and its branches downward.
Yes.
The material tree is temporary, but the spiritual tree is external.
Very good. Eternal, yeah. Yeah, very true. Anything else?
Material desires are the cause of our sufferings.
Very good. Yes. Yes.
Prabhu, I actually wanted to get some clarification. I know you mentioned the 3 types of bodies last week.
Yes.
But I just wanted to get some more, I guess, clarification where sort of, I guess, that fits in with what we were talking about last week.
Okay, so you want to know what the 3 types of bodies are first?
No, so I have them in my notes here. Like I have gross, subtle, and the original transcendental form.
Right.
I guess I'm just sort of trying to make the connection between that and whether there's the connection representing what we were talking about in terms of the banyan tree last week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because we are in the banyan tree, the material world, that we have to have a gross body. Why? Because gross body, think of gross body as a support system for our senses. So you have your eyes, you have your ears, you have nose, mouth, skin. If they're hanging loose in the air, it's kind of weird. So they said, okay, take a body, so they're attached to it, and at least they're all moving together. Otherwise, one day ear might be left behind, you know, and the nose goes further. It won't look so good. It's bad enough as it is, right? So that's the reason for gross body. And you will keep getting gross bodies as long as we are in the tree. right, which is the material world. So now, why do we come to the material world? As somebody said before, because of our material desires, one of which is that we want to control everything and we want to enjoy everything, and we feel a sense of proprietorship. So we get attached. The sense of proprietorship is attached. And then we start doing karmas, which are the roots that make us even stronger binding with the tree. However, there is this concept of reincarnation, where we leave one body and get another body, different kind of body. It could be human body or non-human body, right? 8.4 million different species, any one of them. But the karmas that we have accumulated, they have to have a reservoir so they can go with us being the soul. Similarly, there are perceptions from every life that have to go with us also. So they have to have a reservoir for them. So there comes this concept of subtle body. It consists of intelligence, mind, and false ego. What's the definition of false ego? It's the identification of us, the soul, with the body. That's false ego. So what do you think gets carried in the false ego? Any idea?
Sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
What does false ego carry with us from life, from body to body to body? Any idea? Just guess. What would connect with false ego? What gives us the
Karma,
karma? Exactly.
the bad deeds.
Wonderful. So karma is carried by the false ego. Then the perceptions, what would carry the perception? Mind or intelligence?
Mind.
Mind, exactly.
Mind.
So mind is carrying the perceptions from previous lives. False ego is carrying our karmas. They're all going with us, and intelligence goes with us because intelligence controls the mind. Intelligence also gives the ability to discriminate from right to wrong, right? So all those three things together constitute what we call subtle body. It's called subtle because it's not physical, it's not gross, but it's attached to the soul. But the soul, what kind of body does soul have? Soul itself. Any ideas? Anybody? Like soul is part and parcel of Krishna. What kind of body does Krishna have?
Transcendental.
Okay. Now you take a brick of gold and you cut out a piece. What would that piece consist of? Gold or iron?
Gold.
Gold.
In other words, the piece will have the same quality as the gold, as the brick. Similarly, Krishna said in the 7th verse of the same chapter that we are all part and parcel of him. We're part and parcel of him, we must have the same qualities. He's transcendental, therefore we are transcendental. So the soul is transcendental body, and then we have the gross body to support our senses, and we have subtle body to carry the karmas and the perceptions. Those are three bodies. So now the connection with the tree is that our karmas are the ones that keep forcing us to get this gross body and keep coming back to this material world. As long as we are in the tree, the material world, we'll either have a gross body or no body. So what do we call the souls that are ending up with no body? The ghosts.
Atma.
No,
Atma.
ghost.
Ghost. Okay.
Are ghosts
They have
real?
no gross body. Right? You knew that, no?
No, probably. Can you talk about ghosts a little bit? I'm interested.
Oh. So what happens is, if for whatever reason, sorry, let me step back a little. A soul does not leave a body until its next body has been decided. That's normal. So at the time of leaving the body, it's been decided already. what kind of body is going to go. But sometimes when there's an accidental death or suicide or for whatever other reason, there's no body waiting for it. When the soul leaves it, the current body, and is hanging around in the air. But its subtle body is with it. So the desires, material desires haven't left it. So the material desires are there, but nowhere to enjoy it. Right? Because you need your material senses to enjoy. Without your eyes, you can't see. Without your ears,
That's
you can't hear.
terrible.
Huh?
That's terrible then.
It sure is. That's why ghost life is very terrible. But then what happens is they're constantly feeling disturbed and they don't like that other peoples are more peaceful than them. So they enter the body of somebody and they start disturbing that person. So we often hear that a ghost has entered somebody's body and they start acting weird. Because the ghost is trying to enjoy. Now you're using somebody else's body to enjoy. So it's not a very good situation. Okay?
Prabhu, can I ask a follow-up question?
Of course you can.
My follow-up question to that discussion is, I know you were talking about sort of accidental death, or you were talking about suicide, but let's say like if someone gives up their body like in an accident or whatever, does that qualify them to develop a ghost body then? Is that the way? But if that is the way they are going to leave their body, then how do you use it? How does discretion come into that, right? I'm not saying that we are authorized to, figure out the discretion, but I'm just trying to make sense of if that is how someone is supposed to leave their body, but you qualify that as accidental death, then how does that work?
Yeah, so I did not mean to say that everyone who dies in an accident gets a ghost body. I did not mean that. Saying it can. Suicide almost always, but accident it can. But remember also there's an overriding factor, which is if for whatever reason their consciousness is on something else like Krishna, then none of these rules apply. The rule that overtakes all of them is that if you think of Krishna, you go to Krishna. Okay? So, I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. You
Okay.
did answer it. Yeah, thank you.
I have one more follow-up question, but
Yes.
not sure. When it comes to the ghost, do they have more powers?
More powers than whom?
Like, uh, uh, I mean, usually in the movies we will see the ghosts having more powers, right? So, do they have really, or is it something if they enter into another body, troubling others? Then, if they do all the mischievous things, then that is called a more power.
Well, so if by power you mean they're controlling somebody's body, then yes. But if by power you mean now they can lift 500 pounds, no.
Those are illogical, right?
I mean, movies distort everything, so don't go by the movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, any other questions? Okay. I just see Krishna and Nandimukhi join as well, so welcome.
Thank you, Baba. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
How are you? Usha Mataji, you're there.
Yes, Prabhuji, today I am.
I'm glad you're there.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So let's start with.
I have a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, like as you said, like every soul leaves the body. When the soul leaves the body, it's already decided which body it is going to enter.
Right.
So how do we know that for which soul the body is decided, and if a person dies in accident, whether that soul is going to enter a body or not? I mean, is there any? This portion I didn't understand actually. Why does this happen?
Answer is we don't know.
Okay.
We have no control over it, and we don't know.
Okay.
But this is why all the Shraddha ceremonies are designed. So regardless of what body they get, there's benefit to them. And also, I mean, it's a very complicated one. Story, because sometimes next body could be in hell, it could be in heaven, it could be in Pitralok. So many different variations. So we don't know. So this is why the Shraddha ceremony has been designed. We do the Pindadan and we do Shraddha and all those kind of things to make sure that as much help we can do, we can. But we have no way of knowing. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So, chapter 14, we had discussed, which is two weeks ago, we discussed modes of material nature. And we said there are 3 of them. Can anybody remember what the 3 modes of material nature are?
Mode of passion,
Goodness.
mode of ignorance,
And
and mode of
goodness.
goodness. Yeah.
Okay. So those are the 3 modes. So in mode of goodness, people, giving charity without wanting pain because of that. They maybe trees, they eat healthy foods, they perform 5 sacrifices, they study Vedas, and so on and so forth. Those are the people in mode of goodness. People in mode of passion also give charity, but they do it for their name and fame. They want the plaque, they want their name in the newspapers or on the wall or whatever. They're doing it for them, not for the other person. They do creating things, skyscrapers or inventing stuff from science and engineering and those kind of things. They have lots of desires, material desires, and they want to possess material things. And those in mode of ignorance, I mean, they're good for nothing. Just let me sleep, let me drink, let me hurt somebody because it's fun, and on and on. So obviously, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious activities, and they are good for making progress on the path towards liberation. And there's a technical term Bhagavad Gita uses, it's called Davi Prakriti, or divine nature, where activities in the mode of passion and ignorance are known as activities belonging to demoniac nature. So the title of this chapter, chapter 16, is the divine and demoniac nature. We will talk about those 2 types of people. Okay? So Krishna says basically there are 2 types of people, divine and demoniac. And then in this chapter, he's going to explain the qualities of persons with divine and demoniac nature. And also
And Prabhuji? Divine?
divine. D-I-V-I-N-A, divine. D-I.
Okay. What's the other one you're saying?
Oh, a demoniac. What are demons? What a demon is?
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
So let's make sure everybody knows.
Demoniac.
Can you tell me what a demon is? Like, how do you define a demon?
Demigods, like
evil.
Opposite.
Demon.
opposite.
Like evil.
Devil. Yeah, evil devil.
Gods are divine, and demons are demoniac. So the major difference is that the divine people believe in God and like to serve God. Demoniac people do not believe in the authority of God. So we'll talk a lot more.
Okay.
Okay, but we'll talk in a lot more detail. Okay?
Excuse me, Papa. Can you fix your mic? I can't hear you clearly. The volume is very low today.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, I got full volume.
Okay.
Huh? This is on. Maybe I can put it closer. Is this any better?
Thank you.
Is it better or no?
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Well, thank you for pointing it out. Let me know if it goes worse again, okay? All right. Okay. So now it starts talking about the differences. So those who are born with divine qualities, they follow a regulated life. What does regulated life mean? I just realized that maybe not everybody understands the word regulated life. Does anybody know? Everybody know what regulated life means?
Living by those regulated principles.
Yes. Some of them are.
Like chanting. I asked this question to Krishna.
Getting up early and doing your duties, spiritual duties, and also.
Yeah, that's right. And observing fast and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Not too much eating, not too little eating, not too much sleep, not too little sleep, all those kind of things.
But Papa, there are 4 regulative principles that.
Those are also there on top of that.
Okay.
But those principles are very specific to
ISKCON?
not just ISKCON, but to Vaishnavas.
Okay.
Some people will be breaking some of those and still calling them regulated, although it's not. So let's go with the fact that no, all the 4 are also important to have a regulated life.
Okay.
So, and they accept the guidance of the authorities. Authorities being the sages, the scriptures, those kind of things. In other words, they perform duties according to authoritative scriptures. On the other hand, demoniac people do not follow the regulative principles as laid down in the scriptures, and they act according to their whims, which means they don't follow what the scriptures say, they follow what their heart desires. So, as I was saying before, to put it very simply, divine people follow the injunctions of the scriptures, and demoniac people don't. It's just very simple as that. Okay? Now, we said earlier that demigods are what nature? What's its name?
Divine.
Divine.
Divine nature.
And demons are?
Demonic.
Demonic.
Good guess. Yes, demoniac. But do you know that they have the same father? Both. So there's a personality by the name of Kashyapa who had 3 wives, but with one he had all the demigods, like Indra and sun and moon, they were all born of her. And he had another wife from which all the demons came, like Hiranyakashipu and all those famous demons, they all came from her. So it's interesting, the same father would have both people both in divine nature as well as demonic nature. And we'll talk about that in more detail also. Okay. All right. So we should also note that in the previous ages, like Satyuga, etc., Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, the distinction between divine and demoniac people was very clear. They lived at a distance from each other and they rarely mixed. In modern times, however, the dividing line has disappeared. Like literally to the extent that the divine and demoniac natures coexist within the same individual. In other words, somebody could be divine in the morning and be demoniac at night. Or divine sometimes, really demoniac some other times. And if you have difficulty understanding that, take the example of a dog. A lot of dogs are very unpredictable. Although, we call a dog our man's best friend, but a dog can be very brutal. There were so many news items about a dog mauling a child or person or whatever, totally unprovoked. So People can also have the same kind of contradictory behavior. The sign up at times. And like if you look at the movies, old movies and pictures, the demons have these horns coming out of their head, and they have crooked teeth and long nails and all those kind of things. But that's fiction. Demons can look like me, and sometimes do, right? And have all sorts of demoniac tendencies and activities and actions. So you can't just tell looking at a person as demon or demoniac. So look at the activities, other qualities that we'll talk about. So now Krishna describes 26 qualities that are known as divine qualities. And therefore people with divine nature have those 26 qualities. Some of the examples are non-violence, truthfulness, aversion to fault finding, and I want to say that twice, aversion to fault finding. If we are into fault finding, what's our nature? Any guesses? I think we all know. Forgiveness, etc. So let's talk a little bit about non-violence. What do you think of when you say non-violence?
Well, first, not hitting someone for sure.
Not hitting somebody, okay.
The
Physical.
physical part, yeah. But
Not talking improper. Sorry.
well, I was just gonna say the same thing, like abusing someone or saying something bad to them.
So it's not just physical violence, it's also mental violence, that's included. It's not just killing somebody that's violent, it's hurting somebody's feelings. That's also violent. I'm sorry?
Controlling anger, emotions.
Yeah, so you need to control your anger, yeah, for sure.
Not hurting anybody.
Not hurting physically or emotionally.
Physically or emotionally, yeah.
Okay.
So is emotionally and mentally going to be different, or is it going to be the same?
Typically, they are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. On the other hand, there are 6 qualities that are known as demoniac: pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. They are the qualities of demoniac nature. So as I was saying before, Krishna is saying verse number 5 that the divine qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities are good for bondage in the material world. They'll bind us to the material world, whereas divine qualities will lead us to liberation away from the material world. In other words, those who are situated in the divine nature make progress on the path of liberation. So in terms of the tree, they move up. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, there's no possibility of liberation. Either they'll remain in the material world as human beings, or they descend down to the species of animals or even lower life forms. And Arjuna was kind of looking at Krishna when he was saying that. Krishna kind of smiles and says, Arjuna, that's okay, don't worry. You have divine qualities.
Yep.
So now, the next 12 verses, Krishna describes the qualities and behavior of the demoniac people. It's kind of interesting. Just one verse to describe the divine qualities, and 12 verses. I don't know what he's trying to tell us. Mm-hmm. Now, interesting, as we listen to these qualities, do an honest assessment in your own mind. Which of those qualities belong to you? I did that when I was reading this chapter, and I kind of almost all of them together are right here. So But just for fun, do it. Don't have to share with anybody.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah. All right.
Prabhuji, I have a question. So I remember in like 2 or 3 classes back, when you were talking about different modes, you mentioned that each person has all the 3 modes of material nature within them, and then like it's just in different probabilities, right? And they can change from time to time as well. So then with that, if someone has, that if someone is acting in the mode of passion, and then they have these qualities and is also a devotee on that on like on a side, so then like are they demoniac, or like how do you classify that then?
Yeah, so what you were saying earlier is that just like the example of the dog, the humans also have both. Like unless you're purely in mode of goodness, you will have both. And pretty well all of us have a combination of all 3, which means we have a divine nature and we have a demoniac nature. It's a question of what's more. Some of us have more of a divine nature than others, and some of us have more of a demoniac nature than others. But we all have combination, and it exhibits itself at different times. Sometimes you hear of someone with a very good reputation doing something abominable, which means their demoniac nature, kind of took over. Temporarily maybe, but it took over. So that happens all the time actually. Okay?
But does that happen to a devotee as well?
It sure does, because unless you're a pure devotee, you have all three modes. And not pure devotees around. Means we all have those. We all have those 3 modes, and we all have demoniac and divine qualities. Hopefully more divine than demoniac, but we have the both.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, all right. So demoniac people don't know what's to be done and what's not to be done. Why? Because they don't know the scriptural rules. Nor do they have any inclination to follow the scriptural rules. So just because written in the scriptures doesn't mean they'll follow them. They either don't bother reading, which is most of them, and those who read them make fun of them and don't follow. They have no faith in the scriptures or God, nor are they willing to act in terms of the injunctions in the scriptures. And Krishna adds that they're not clean internally or externally. So the question for you is, we all know how to clean ourselves externally. A nice soap, Dove will do it. But how do you clean yourself internally? You can't swallow a soap. It won't work if you did. So how do you clean yourself internally?
By chanting.
Never think bad about the other people. Never think bad about the others.
Yeah, but how do you do that? I think somebody else asked already.
I said by chanting.
Don't think about them. That's all. Don't think about them.
Okay.
I mean,
Always
if
think
it's
about
bad,
God.
yeah. So keep chanting, and if something
Yeah.
bad comes in your head, so divert your mind to the chanting. In that way, you won't even think about them.
Yes.
It will actually divert your mind.
Yes.
I've been practicing.
If you keep chanting, that yes.
See Krishna in them.
Oh,
Yeah.
familiar voice.
Yeah. That's it. Always
See
think of
Krishna in them.
Or pray for them.
They're
If
also
they are,
part and parcel of Krishna. So see Krishna in them.
And be positive, all of them.
Be positive.
All of them.
Yes.
about all of them.
Yes.
maybe pray for them.
Starts with, what you're describing is the effect of having clean inside. My question is, how do you clean the inside?
I actually have like a little story, you could say. Uh, so as kids, like me and my older brother, like we were very naughty. So my mom had very less patience in that sense, and she was just, I think she was just starting Krishna consciousness, and we were like very small. Like I was very small, and this is something she shared, that the more she was into the class, the more like all these different books that she read discussed about them, incorporated, chanting and trying to eat, prasadam and all those, I don't know how many are there, all those different things, shravanam, kirtanam, all that. So the more she did that, the more patience she acquired. So that really helped her to, cleanse her soul in that sense. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's what I think.
That's always the case. The more you chant, the more of the 26 qualities you develop that Krishna is talking about here. Patience is one of them.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Jonathan, go ahead.
So, like my little son, my younger son was chanting, and my older son, he's just being sometimes lazy. And yesterday he said that, why do I chant? What does it give me? So my younger one said, it gives you, I said it, it helps you develop the patience and concentration and focus. So the Raj said, my younger one, that do it, Kamal. You will be patient. You are being so aggressive these days. You will control your anger. So right away, Kamal said, Mama has been doing it forever. She's always angry. She's always mad at me. So it's not teaching her patience. And I was like speechless, and I left the room, and I was like, I don't know what to reply. And I was like, I'm going to ask today to you.
Well, all I can say is to chant more and try to focus on chanting when you are chanting. Try to avoid offending, the holy name, the 10 offenses against the holy name, and it will work. It always does. Sometimes it takes longer than other times, but it does. So just
thank you, Prabhuji.
The more you chant,
Prabhuji.
Purnamataji, go ahead.
Anji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. Prabhuji, I think if you are surrendered all for the Krishna, then your internal like angriness and everything is finished, in my opinion.
Well, your opinion is right. We all agree with you.
Because I am very, when I am in a very young age, I am very stressful, but now these days, nothing else.
Wonderful.
Because I'm busy every time in the Krishna work.
So good to hear that, Mother. Very nice.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, wonderful. I wish I could do that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hari.
Okay. So going back to the demoniac people, they don't believe that the world was created by God. For them, there's no difference between spirit, which is transcendental, and matter. And therefore, they don't believe in the supreme spirit, which is God. They don't believe in the existence of soul either. And they believe that only a combination of matter, like chemical reactions, has produced the living entity, the soul. And they think it's the material nature that caused the cosmic manifestation, which is the appearance of the material world, and there's no other cause. So to them, material nature is that's it. That's the force.
Everything is that.
Everything is that. Everything is that. They don't understand material nature is dead matter. Has no ability to act. It's like a stone can't move by itself. Something has to move it. A stone does not produce children, and so on and so forth. So they don't get it, and they don't want to get it. They believe what they believe. But when it comes to enjoying the world, They would try to enjoy the material world to the fullest, to the utmost limit they can. But as a result, they always engage in what you would call self-gratification. And they're busy inventing things for self-gratification. With a cell phone or television or radio or some toys or some games or whatever, they're always inventing something so they can get more and more of self-gratification. The thing that the materialistic inventions represent the advancement of human civilization. In other words, the more toys we have, the more ways we have to defend ourselves, to satisfy our senses, the more highly advanced we are. But they don't realize that when they do that, people become more and more impersonal. So let me ask you, has the invention of cell phone made you more impersonal or less impersonal? You think, oh, cell phone allows me to talk to people. I can send my emails anytime I want. I can talk to people anytime I want. But are you more personal than before the cell phone?
No.
More impersonal.
No, Prabhu.
And why is that?
Like previously, people. Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Like previously, before the cell, people used to talk. They want to chat with each other by face to face. But now they are just on the cell and conveying their messages on the cell only. They are not seeing the faces of each other. So they are not connected with each other.
Right.
Indirectly, you can say.
I've seen families at a dining table, 5 people, nobody looking at each other, nobody talking to each other, they're all looking at their cell phones.
Yep.
Sending messages, emails, or whatever.
Prabhu, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
In regards to what you just said?
Uh-huh.
So you were talking about certain behaviors, I guess, or certain beliefs that the demoniac people have. And one of those beliefs was that, they believe that this material nature, this material world has been created because of like cosmic manifestations. And I was just wondering whether you could shed some light on theories like, and I know this has been discussed before, I just haven't ever gone like a holistic answer. So like theories like Darwin's theory, where sort of is that something that we as practicing bhakti practitioners even consider? Or is that something that we consider, but we understand that that's only a fragment of what, Krishna is actually capable of? So where do those sort of scientific theories then fit into understanding, of the material nature of the material world?
Right. So, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned Darwin. Darwin himself could not prove his own theory. So he kept saying, oh, it's just a theory. Because, I mean, it's very difficult to prove what he's talking about. There's so many gaps in his theory. So, I mean, his theory is totally nonsense. I mean, evolving doesn't make any sense. Whereas when you look at the karma, the theory of karma, and people getting bodies, then it's easy to understand. The other thing is, his theory implies that certain species did not exist before, or they always did. So how do you explain that? That's like saying there was a time when only the monkeys existed and humans did not. That doesn't make sense. Right? So yeah, no, we do not believe in Darwin. Like I said, Darwin himself doesn't believe that. He just made some money and made some name, and that's about it.
So I guess when we do come across like new scientific theories, or when there's new discoveries that are made, I think scientists have just now, or it's been a couple of years, that they've started to understand that when a person is facing death, that they're having like, they're having an experience. It's not something that is just, they're just like, they're gone. Like they understand that there's life that is actually present even at the moment of death, because the soul is experiencing things.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, I guess my question, and I'm not supporting either or, I'm just trying to get some clarification where, you know, in society, when we are presented with new theories or new things that do come up from a scientific point of view, but understanding that our scriptures contain more in-depth information of what the entire universe, you know, and they contain such specific, such specifics to something sometimes that even we can't wrap our heads around. So is that something that we completely dismiss and we don't see any validity in the scientific theories that are presented? Or is that something that we just take with a grain of salt because it doesn't encapsulate everything that we already know?
Well, it depends upon what that theory is. Some theories do make a lot of sense. And these days, scientists are more and more finding things that support what's already written in the scriptures. You know, a lot of things about the universe, about the planets, about life on other planets, they're starting to find out now. So now they're saying, "Oh, look at the discovery." Well, wait a minute. And look at our scriptures from millions of years ago. We've known this all this time. We talked about interplanetary travel, talked about life on other planets, talked about, you know, starting from something smaller than an electron, something as huge as the Virat Swarup, you know, all those kind of things. It's all there. Scientists have only now started to prove what's in the scriptures. So frankly, a lot of times scientists are right, but they're only proving right what's already there. And other times, speculation on their part, sometimes fraud, outright fraud on their part. They get caught, then they get contradicted. Scientific theories, all the time, they're either being improved upon or being contradicted. And a new theory comes up, which shows that all humans have 4 defects, one of which is that we'll make mistakes. And also we have a tendency to cheat. You know, so I mean, and also the games they play. Did you know? Okay, let me ask you this. It's totally out of the context, but let me ask you anyway. Who made the first airplane in the world?
Ravan.
Sorry?
Ravan.
No, actually, you're talking. No, I'm talking about modern times, mechanical. Hang on, mantras. That's Kuber's plane, by the way. The Ravan had taken away. But I'm talking modern times. Who gets
Wright brothers, was it? I think.
Wright brothers.
Wright brothers, right?
That's the 2 brothers. The Wright brothers get the credit.
Is a Maharashtrian guy called Gokhale.
Thank you. Gokhale actually is a different name, but it's a Maharashtrian.
Sorry, Maharashtrian guy.
You're correct. And so there's a movie coming out about him also. And Anshuman Khurana is there. And hey, I don't just know the scriptures. So just wanted to point that out. And anyway, so in 1895, he designed this airplane which flew in Mumbai for 18 minutes. Wright brothers flew for a few seconds. I think maybe it was 2 minutes, something like that. But they were definitely wrong brothers. They were not Wright brothers. The right person was this Maharashtrian guy. But he doesn't get any credit. It's like Jagdish Chandra Bose doesn't get any credit for Marconi took the credit. Cheating. So that's what goes on in the scientific world. Actually, material world goes on. So scientists are just one example. But anyway, coming back to the point is that a lot of scientists don't know, they're speculating. And every once in a while, they happen to, fall into some facts and they say it, and they say, yeah, we knew that. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
You did. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So, I mean, cell phones, things like that just make people more like. Another one is video games. My God, people spend hours playing video games. One time I saw, a couple of years ago, my son was in the basement and I had this laughter. He was laughing like crazy. And I said, nobody there. So I go down. Yes, he's by himself playing a video game and laughing. I said, what are you laughing about? No, I'm playing with a friend. So his friend was in his house. My son was in my house. They're playing a hockey game or something and laughing like anything. Talk about, that's the extent of personal. So yeah, it's a really harmful thing. And when we become impersonal, it tend to become violent, it tend to become cruel, not just to animals, but cruel to other human beings also. And frankly, these demoniac people have no idea how to behave toward another, or one another. They are into animal killing. How can you live without eating meat? That's the question they ask you when you tell them you're vegetarian. How do you develop muscles, and all those silly questions. So these people, actually, when you think about this, they're really enemies of the world, because ultimately they end up inventing or creating something that's totally destructive. I'm thinking nuclear bomb. I'm thinking, the misuse of the lasers. Now they have guns that can shoot from 4 kilometers away and kill a person. They have satellites that have the ability to literally, what's the word? When something so hot it evaporates, what's the word? Pulverize the entire country. Like, that's what they're doing. So real demoniac. And the next point is that their lust knows no limit. They're never satiated or satiated, whatever pronunciation you prefer. They go on increasing their insatiable desires for material enjoyment. Kind of interesting. They're always full of anxieties because they've accepted something non-permanent, which means they got it today, it may go away tomorrow. So they're always anxious about losing it. Or when they don't have it, they're anxious about getting it or not getting it. But they continue the same activities, engaging in the same activities. And there's so much illusion, so much illusion. They have no knowledge, that's why they are in illusion. And they cannot tell that they're heading the wrong way. Wrong way being completely stuck in the material world. They create their own God sometimes, or sometimes they create their own religion. And they create their own hymns and their own chants. Everything's totally on the whim. And sometimes they say, no, I'm God. So as a result, they become more and more attracted to sex enjoyment and accumulation of wealth, material wealth, that is. They're only attracted to wine, women or men, gambling, and meat eating. No, everything against the 4 regulative principles. But here's the irony. This is the one that should upset you. Although these demoniac people are most abominable, the world gives them so much respect. Oh, sir, you're the best. You're the richest. You're the most powerful. Please give me some advice. So as a result, even though these people are gliding toward hell and they're carrying a lot of people with them to hell, all the people that follow them, but they think they're most advanced people in the world. And that difference between the reality and what they think is the cause of their downfall and their getting bound in the material world. Their roots are really huge and really strong. That connected man to the tree. There's no leaving this material world for them. Kind of interesting, but they think that it's the sense enjoyment that's the ultimate goal of life. They don't believe in life after death. Their motto is YOLO. You only live once. They don't believe that one takes on different types of bodies according to one's karma. They don't believe in karma. As a result, they keep making plans for their life. The plans for life are never finished. And they keep making plan after plan after plan after plan. They never finish that. Not only they don't finish planning, typically don't finish any plan that they have made. They don't understand that the laws of nature don't allow anybody any kind of enjoyment they don't deserve, or any amount of time beyond their lifespan. They can invent all they want, they can become medically advanced all they want, but they cannot live 1 second longer than their destiny is. And he goes on. Demoniac persons, they don't have any faith in God or the super soul. And they perform all kinds of sinful activities, all in the name of sense gratification. If something gives their senses pleasure, they're not shy about doing it.
Say it again, Prabhuji. What you said?
If something gives their senses pleasure, in other words, something for the satisfaction of the senses, you don't stop anywhere. They'll just continue going until the senses are satisfied, which never happens, so they keep on doing more and more and more. So they're into gambling or meat eating or women or men or whatever, there's no end. They'll perform any kind of sinful activity and as much sinful activity as possible as they feel they need to satisfy the senses. But they don't understand that somebody's watching them.
Super soul.
Super soul, exactly. You can't hide from super soul. But there's some other personalities also watching. Can you think of any other personalities who are watching all the time?
Demigods?
Yes, very good. The sun is watching. I said, well, nighttime, well, the moon is watching. I said, I'm in a closed room. Well, the air is watching. And the Mother Earth is there. She's a personality. So she's watching. Even the water, Varuna Dev is watching. You can't hide. And above all, as you said, the super soul is watching. So actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Dev was explaining to his mother that all these people become a witness to your karmas. And they actually give evidence that this is what this person did. And that decides your next body. Okay, and all the karmas are noted down. The big supercomputers with huge disk space, and they keep writing. It's all there, it's never destroyed. But these people don't understand that. They feel nobody's watching, and therefore they can do whatever they want for self-enjoyment. They don't care about the consequences because they don't believe in destiny, they don't believe in karma, they don't believe in next life. So they think there will be no consequences. Okay, then something else interesting happens. Remember I was mentioning their lust is insatiable. But here's how a demoniac person thinks. He's thinking, I have so much wealth today, and I'm going to get more wealth tomorrow according to my scheme, my plan, my abilities. I got so much now today, and I'm going to increase it more and more and more and more. I'll be the richest person, I'll be the most powerful person, I'll be the most famous person in the world. People will worship me. People will fall down as soon as they see me, offer me obeisances. And then, because they're thinking all about me, they look at other people who are trying to do the same thing as them and accomplish the same thing as them. That other person becomes their enemy. They're saying, this person is my enemy, and I'm going to kill him. Like, I don't know how many of you have worked in kind of a sales environment. Sales people also always talk about, kill the competition. Have you heard that expression? We kill that.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about? That's the language that's used. So demonic people always thinking about, I'm going to kill my enemies. I'm going to crush them. We'll never be able to rise again because I am the Lord of everything. I'm the enjoyer. And you know what? You may not realize that I'm perfect. I'm perfect. I'm powerful. I'm happy. I'm the richest.
Aristocratic.
And I have great relatives. Look at everybody, how much they love me. They don't realize their money, it's money they love. They all love me. And then nobody is as powerful as I am. Nobody's as happy as I am. I'm the best. And you know what? Some of them say, well, you know what? I'll do 5 sacrifices. I'll give some charity. So my name comes up. People know my name. Look at me, how much I give. And then I shall rejoice. I'll be happy, happy, happy person. In this way, they're totally deluded by their ignorance. And again, along the same lines of insatiable lust, the desire to acquire money is unlimited. Like a billion is not enough. 2 billion is not enough. 70 billion is not enough. You want more. And they're always making plans to increase their wealth. And for that reason, they don't hesitate to perform any kind of sinful activity. And you know, I can try to deal with black market, I'll do that. If I have to do something illegal, I'll do that as long as my senses are gratified. You know, and the demonic people love their positions. You know, I mean, something that never made sense to me is when people spend $10 million to buy a stolen painting. Have you heard of that? Right? So what will you do with 10 stolen painting? You can't show it to anybody. But you spend $10 million acquiring it. So what do? They put it in a vault, a big, huge, strong vault. And what do? Every once in a while, they go open the vault and say, peekaboo. They see the painting and they close the door. Okay, they can't show it to anybody else. So what are you thinking, man? It's just that they don't know what to do with their money. And there's some kind of satisfaction in doing something illegal. And then they think, I'm the only possessor of this painting. That's the demoniac way of thinking. and they're very, very proud of all the property they have, the bank balance, you know, all the family members they have, on and on and on. And even though they're proud of all this and they think we're great, but they still want to improve. They want more of this. A friend of mine in Detroit, 2 people only, husband and wife, just bought a 15,000 square foot house. And Anju Mataji, you are in the, I saw Anju Mataji before, I don't see her now. Anyway, I mean, what did you do with 15,000 square foot house with only 2 people in the house? And that 2 senior citizens. Can't even right? But gives them some satisfaction. Look, I can show my house to everybody. They do all this also because they think it's them, it's their smarts, it's their efforts, it's their endeavor, it's their work that gave them all this. It's all about them. I did it, I achieved it, I acquired it, I possess it. They're not thinking karma. But somehow good karmas came about, it allowed you to have all this. They don't believe that it's the karma that allows a man birth in a high family, or to become rich, or well educated, or beautiful, or handsome, or whatever. They don't believe it's because of my karma in the past, from past lives. They think it's all they're doing now in this life. They think it's their personal ability that allowed them to get this. And they don't think there's any arrangement like God's arrangement behind all this. Some people are less educated than others, some people are less more beautiful than others, some people are richer than others, so on and so forth. They don't believe there's something behind it, there's some arrangement behind it. I think it's all our ability, our efforts allow us to do that.
Probably, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you differentiate between people with demoniac nature and people who are just pure demons? Like, what's the point of difference between them?
That's just it.
Sorry?
So we all have some degree of demoniac nature.
Mm.
Some people have only, demonic. They're pure demons, right? So like only mode of ignorance. That's rare. That's rare, but can happen. In theory, at least, can happen.
Mm-hmm. So then my second question is, then what would you classify Jodhan and Ravan and Kans, for example? In what category would you put them in then?
All demons, very demons.
Demon.
Yeah. But even they did some good things. That's my point. But for most of the time, their demoniac nature, they keep showing it. Like Ravan is known for his lust.
Yep.
Right? Hiranyakashipu is known for his pride. I'm the god, nobody else can be God, I'm the most powerful. Right?
But these people really prayed as well, right? Because
that's my point. But when they, even when they prayed for themselves. Like, what do we pray for, or at least supposed to pray for?
For God's love.
Hmm?
For God's devotion or love.
To be in His service.
Yeah, God, give me service.
Of service.
Engage me in your service. Right? Demons say, God, make me so powerful that I can defeat you. Right? Hiranyakashipu performed austerities, called for Lord Brahma, so he can defeat the demigods. So he can defeat Vishnu. That's demoniac mentality. But at the same time, when Hiranyakashipu's brother Hiranyaksha was killed, Hiranyakashipu gave such wonderful discourse to his sister-in-law and his nephews. Talked about the soul, talked about reincarnation, talked about all those things, right? And this is Hiranyakashipu. Same thing with Ravan. He understood Vedas very well. Just didn't apply it. Didn't apply in the sense that he didn't believe Ram was God. Right? So that's the thing. Sometimes you can't tell demons from divine people. Even those extreme cases. But when you look at overall picture, then you can tell. Okay?
Thank you.
So sometimes, remember I was saying that demoniac people see other people as their competition and they start considering them as their enemy. And sometimes this enmity can extend to the families, the societies, or even the countries. As a result, there's always this strife going on in the world. Some kind of war happening in every corner of the world. There's some kind of disturbance happening in every corner of the world. Because of all this demoniac nature of things. They don't believe in doing yajnas, that's performance promotion to the higher planets. They feel that they have the ability to go up on their own. I don't know how many of you know Ravana wanted to build a staircase to heaven. And he had started on this before other things started happening. They think that they can have their own process for fire sacrifice, or they'll prepare some kind of machine or the stairs, as I was saying, to use that. Rather than perform sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas and then go there. So as a result, instead of going up, they go down towards the hellish planet. It's just like fish caught in the net. They can't come out.
Abba, I can't hear you.
Yeah, this is same with me too.
What's going on today?
Difficulty hearing.
Me too, Prabhuji, very hard to hear.
Yeah, same with me.
Now, you better? You better? No? How about now?
No.
How about now? Is it any better?
Say something.
Okay, is it any better? Is the sound any better now?
It's very low.
No, sound is very
low.
Voice
Yeah.
very slow, yeah.
How about now?
You guys probably wanna click on the speaker sign. Maybe that will improve.
What's that?
Because I'm hearing him fine.
Oh.
It is at 100%, but even then, hard to listen.
Maybe Prabhuji's side, the volume is not higher.
I got 100%.
Yeah.
I got 100%.
But otherwise, everyone voice is good. Prabhuji's voice is very slow.
Yes, I don't know. I'm sorry. I have no idea. I'm looking at I've got a big microphone. And it's got settings. And I've tried them all. Okay, is this better?
No.
Bare minimum.
Is this better?
No, Prabhuji.
No.
Then I don't know what's going on. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go upstairs and bring my other microphone. Okay, give me a second, okay? Okay. How's this now? Is this any better?
Yes, little.
No, it's better. Yeah.
It's better?
Say something, Prabhuji.
Okay, I'm talking. I don't know. Because this is the best I can do. I
Hello?
must
We can hear you much better now.
with my system.
Class.
It's good enough? Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll try this now. All right. So with all this, they start thinking of themselves as supreme God, and they think they can do whatever they want. They don't believe in God. Not just that, they think God is dead, and we hear that quite often from these kind of people. So they're fears of both God and the scriptures, and they'll put all sorts of false arguments against the existence of God. And they'll deny the scriptural authority. Questions like, well, how do you know it's true? Well, who can say that did not change something?
I can't hear you, Prabhuji.
So, Mataji, I don't know what else to do. I've tried different.
I think we can hear you fine. It might just be people on their end. And it might just be because people need to mute themselves. Maybe that also affects when you're talking.
Okay, so let's try that. Let everybody put yourself on mute. And
I'm very sorry. I don't know.
You might want to hold the mic up closer.
Yeah,
But it's
close to the mouth.
about 4 inches from my mouth. This is the.
Yeah, this is better.
Yeah,
So now
better,
holding it,
better,
it's better.
Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Better.
This
Better.
is
Okay.
getting
You put it
and
close to the mouth.
it's better.
Okay. So then it's like 2 inches. Okay. All right. Fine. So we'll do that.
Yeah, Prabhu, it is okay. No.
All right. Good. Okay. Whatever works, I'm happy with that. Okay. So.
Yeah, much better.
All right. So they think that, they're God themselves. They don't believe in the authority of God or existence of God or the authority of scriptures. And they think they are independent and they are powerful. They can do whatever they want to do, whatever they feel like doing, and nobody can stop them. So with all that, Krishna says, you know what? Let me give you a dose of reality. And he says, these people are unintelligent and they're devoid of all sense, like they're nonsense. Modern nomenclature for these people is idiot. Or if you're a Bollywood fan, is idiot. And Krishna says that I perpetually cast these envious and mischievous people who are of lowest grade into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. In other words, they're so entangled in this tree, they can't ever get out. And so Krishna is saying that regardless of what the demoniac people believe, he is the one in control, that Krishna is. And Krishna decides what kind of body a particular soul will get in the next birth. And he tells Arjuna that after attaining repeated birth in the demoniac species, such people can never receive Krishna's mercy. And they go down and down and down. And at last they receive bodies like cats and dogs and hogs. So Krishna is saying, making it very clear. I decide what body you get. I decide what you are today or tomorrow or in this life. I decide, everything about you, whether it's your health, your wealth, or whatever. I decide. You don't. You can think all you want. And he says, if you keep thinking differently, you're not intelligent, which means not very smart, an idiot, and you have no sense, you're nonsense. Like very strong language is using. So then the question becomes, so how does the demoniac life begin in the first place? And Krishna says, the same old 3 gates to hell. Anybody knows what they are? 3 gates to hell?
Anger, lust.
Yes.
Greed.
Greed. Very good.
Lust, anger, and greed.
Yes. Those are 3 gates
of
to anger, to hell. And they are the 3 gates leading to the demoniac life as well. So therefore, anybody with any kind of sense, like any kind of sanity, they don't want to glide down to the species of demoniac life. And therefore they give up these 3 enemies. Now they are enemies. Because they can kill the soul to such an extent that there's no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. You're in the tree or you remain in the tree forever. On the other hand, a person who escapes these 3 gates of hell, they would find it easy to follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures. And therefore they can raise themselves to the platform of Krishna consciousness, which guarantees liberation. And then Krishna gives another caution. He says, anybody who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims, this is really nice. Anybody who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. So no perfection, no happiness, no supreme destination for somebody who does not follow the injunctions of the scripture. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is known as Naradhama, which is lowest of the mankind. In human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and follow the regulations, which are there for elevating the life to highest platform. But if they don't follow them, then they degrade themselves to the lower forms of life. But something more, even if somebody follows the rules and regulations and moral principles, but does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord Krishna, then all his knowledge is useless. Like, what did you read the Vedas for? What did you read the other scriptures for? If you don't come to understand Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Vasudeva Paraveda. The whole purpose of studying the Vedas is to get to know Vasudeva, Lord Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita also, actually in the 15th chapter, the one that we did last week, he says, Vedasyaham, Vedasyaham, Sarveda. He says, the whole purpose of studying the Vedas is to get to know me. If you didn't get that, then you wasted your time. And then he goes further. He says, even if somebody accepts my existence, the existence of God, but does not engage in the service of the Lord, then his attempts are spoiled. So what's the use of knowledge if you don't serve? So therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. And then only one can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. So bottom line, serve, serve, serve for the pleasure of Krishna. And a person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows it's forbidden, but still he acts that way, knowing it should not be done. And sometimes knowing it should be done does not do it. That's what's called whimsical. Not doing what should be done, doing what should not be done is whimsical. And they're condemned by Krishna. They can never have perfection, which is the purpose of human life, which is specially meant for purifying one's existence. And anybody who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify themselves. And therefore can never attain happiness, or real happiness, I should say. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty, but only by the regulations of the scriptures, not on their own. And knowing such rules and regulations, they should act accordingly, so they may be gradually elevated all the way to the point of Krishna consciousness, which leads to liberation. Okay? So basically, perfection of knowledge, perfection of life, perfection of all our endeavors, perfection of everything is becoming situated in Krishna consciousness and engaging in devotional service for the pleasure of Krishna. let's face it, the main cause of all fall down is not wanting or not liking or being or having aversion to the principles that lead to understanding Krishna. And that's the greatest offense of human life. Therefore, because we are doing that, Maya, the external potency of Krishna or the material energy, is always giving us trouble in the shape of what we discussed, threefold miseries. Anybody remembers what the threefold miseries are? The three kinds of misery?
आदि दैविक, आदि भौतिक, आध्यात्मिक.
Very good. So what are they?
आदि दैविक में देह से संबंध, शरीर से संबंधित.
Right. So pertaining to the body and mind.
बीमारी वगैरह जैसे.
Right.
और दैविक जैसे ये फ्लड वगैरह आ जाना.
Right. So the second is by the demigods, like the floods, the typhoons, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, those kind of things. And last one?
आध्यात्मिक.
Which is?
भगवान से
By the other living entities. So your neighbors, your boss, the mosquitoes, the insects, they give you trouble. And sometimes you get bed bugs. Have you ever had bed bugs? My God, I did once. It's horrible. It's horrible. Like, we had to leave house for a couple of days. They came and they took over the house and they heated it to, 100 degrees or something like that to kill the bed bugs. Otherwise, you can't kill them. Anyway, point is other living entities give us problems. So those are three types of material miseries. And therefore, we have to raise ourselves at least to the mode of goodness before we can be on the path to understand the Supreme Lord Krishna. And until we raise ourselves to the mode of goodness, we're in ignorance or in passion, which are, as we discussed today, the cause of demoniac life. Demoniac people or people in the mode of passion and ignorance, they deride the scriptures. They deride the holy man. They deride the proper understanding of the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna. They disobey the instructions of the Vedas, the scriptures, the spiritual master. And they don't care for any regulations of the scripture. They just don't care. In spite of hearing the glories of devotional service, all the benefits, they're not attracted to devotional service. They would rather watch a movie than come to the temple to do some service. And therefore, they manufacture their own ways of elevation. And therefore, they lead themselves and all their followers and their friends to the demoniac status of life. However, if somehow we can get the association and guidance of a proper bona fide spiritual master, then that spiritual master can lead us on the path of elevation to a higher stage of Krishna consciousness and thus make this life successful. So I'm going to stop. It's 9:33. Any questions, comments? Anybody get depressed hearing all this?
No.
I mean, this is a heavy chapter.
Prabhuji, I have a little concern or little query regarding this one, because you just mentioned whatever Krishna wants, so you will get that body after you die. And but someone said, yeah, I agree, like whatever Krishna wants. But the thing is, when someone said, like whenever you desire at the last moment, so you will get that kind of body too. So this is Krishna's desire as well.
Yeah, very good question. So all our thought processes are a result of the design by Krishna. Right? So for example, when we are born, somebody has to decide what karmas we're going to bring with us. So think of karma in a very big bucket. And your destination, sorry, not destination, destiny for this life as a small bowl. So somebody has to put his hand in the big bucket and take out a bunch of karmas and put in the small bowl. And that hand belongs to Krishna. The laws belong to Krishna. So that's how Krishna is controlling it. So it's not inconsistent. Yes, it's correct. Krishna says himself, whatever you're thinking about at the moment of death, that's the body you will get. But then how is it determined what you think about at the time of death? Your destiny, right? Your karmas, your modes of material nature, which are all covered by Krishna, governed by Krishna. So it's not inconsistent, Mataji. His hand is in everything. But it's also true that whatever you're thinking about at the moment of death, that's the body you get.
Prabhuji, another question, like suppose we do good karmas, example, like, but sometimes we do bad karmas, like most of the time we do bad karmas. Like suppose we are walking, an ant comes under our feet and it's die. So how it will come in pap? Like, will it consider in sin? Because if ant die, you know.
Right. It's not just ants. There's a lot of bacteria we swallow. Sometimes we swallow some insects also, not realizing. So I have two questions for you. Is killing a sin?
Killing a sin. If we do bhakti.
No. Don't make it complicated. Very simple question. Is killing a sin? Yes or no?
No.
No. Killing is not a sin?
Yeah, killing is a sin. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So killing is sin.
I thought killing is.
Okay. Next question. Suppose, like my daughter has a stove where you can't tell if it's on, but the surface gets hot. So suppose you don't realize it's on and you put your hand on it. Will it burn or not?
Yeah, if it's on, it will definitely
But
burn.
you didn't know it's hot, so it's not your fault.
Oh, okay.
It looks like you already got the answer.
Yeah.
I didn't even answer it, but you got the answer.
Yes.
That's what I call a smart person.
Okay, I got it.
So this is why, because we do lots of sins without even knowing.
Yeah, knowing or unknowing. Yeah.
Right. So this is why, Mataji, you are going to the second point, which is we have to devotional service to counteract all the sinful activities we keep doing. Sometimes without even knowing that. Okay, makes sense?
Yes, Prabhuji, it makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, looks like everybody's reasonably satisfied.
Yep.
Sorry about the sound. Sound quality.
No,
today.
it's okay. After that, it is okay. Only at that time. Yeah, after that, it is fine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Very nice class today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.